Have you ever been in a situation where you just want something to appear above everything else, like a modal or a pop up, and sometimes it doesn't work? And most of the times we go for the Z-Index 999 quick fix hack. And if it works and we overcome the Z-Index stacking conflicts, there are other things to do. If you click outside, you want it to be closed, write more JavaScript. You want a backdrop with it, more code. Keyboard focus management, even more work. It's such a common use case, and why isn't it easier? To make our lives easier, we got two new modern features, and first up is the popover API. With this, we get a global attribute called as popover, and any element that's given the popover attribute is by default hidden with the display none until it's opened by an invoker like a button. So you can see in the demo, we create a container containing the content of the pop-up and give it the popover global attribute. We also give it an ID so that it can be identified and linked to a trigger. Finally, we create a trigger, which in this case is a button, and with the popover target attribute, we give it the ID of the target, and just with a few lines of code we have a simple popover. And the cool thing about this is if we click outside or click escape, it closes automatically. Browser also ensures that this comes on top of everything and there is no Z-index stacking conflict issues because it is pushed into a top layer, which we'll get into later. It's already starting to gain traction and being adopted. For example, in the GitHub homepage, this particular menu has been refactored and implemented via popover API. They have managed to deprecate literally thousands of lines of code, eliminates the need for battling magic Z-index number guessing games, and so much more. You can also add a bunch of entry and exit animation as well, and it makes working with this a lot easier for us. As for the browser support, popover is supported by almost 89.5% of global browsers. Now, popover does not make the rest of the page inert or make it non-interactive or focus trap. And if you want that kind of experience, like in case of a full screen modal or something, we can use the next one, which is the dialog element. Now, dialog is like an entirely new HTML tag, and whatever content we want, we add it inside the dialog tag. So for example, in this case, we have some content and also a button here which closes the dialog. Then we also have a trigger for the dialog, which in our case is a button. Note that we have also given two classes open and close for the two buttons respectively. And all we have to do is to first target the dialog using document.querySelector or something, and it gives us a bunch of predefined methods by default, like for example show modal that we can use to open and show the modal, and .close which we can use to close it. So the demo you can see looks like this. Now the cool thing about this is it gives us a backdrop by default. We can also press escape to close it, and similar to popover API, it ensures that this is above everything else and there is no Z-index conflict issues. Now the way this works is with the help of something called as a top layer, and that sits above the document in the browser viewport, and each document has one associated top layer, and whatever elements that are promoted to the top layer don't need to worry about the Z-index, it appears above everything else. And another cool thing is that they also get the pseudo element called as backdrop, which is the backdrop that we saw that we can style it. So it's like an entire new layer that is outside of the document flow, and the Z-index has no effect. Now for elements within the top layer, they are stacked according to the order in which they appear, which means the last one in the item will always appear on the top, and if you want to promote an element, we want to remove it and add it again. So until now, what we used to do in libraries like SweetAlert or React.js popup, drop an empty container outside of the body, use position fixed and a high Z-index like 10,000 or something so that it appears on top. With the top layer, we no longer need such workarounds. We have a nice little demo here. One dialog uses the SweetAlert library, which uses the fix that we discussed before, and the other one uses the top layer one. So here, let me first open the top layer dialog, and inside this there is also an option to open the SweetAlert dialog. You can see that it always appears underneath it, which means it doesn't matter what the Z-index is, whatever elements is in the top layer will always be on the top. With these two methods, handling pop-ups has gotten so much easier. Do check it out yourselves, and thanks for watching.